The date is September 23rd, 1889, and a man by the name of Fusajiro Yamauchi founded a small company to sell Hanafuda playing cards. This was a fortuitous time for Yamauchi, as Japan was at the tail end of an over 200-year nationwide ban of playing card games, which was an effort to curb gambling within the country, as it was seen as a negative result of the influence of Western culture on the people. However, even though the card games were finally being legalized, their popularity was limited thanks to the previous 2 centuries of repression. So naturally, it took a while for the game to catch on in Japan, but eventually gained popularity when the Yakuza, basically the Japanese mafia, started to use it in their gambling parlors. From there, Nintendo enjoyed steady business thanks to the popularity of the Hanafuda card game. The story of most card companies would more or less end here, but not Nintendo. Unfortunately, Fusajiro Yamauchi would not live to see what his company would become after he passed it on to his son-in-law, Sekiro Kaneda, who later changed his name to Sekiro Yamauchi, and it eventually fell into the hands of his great-grandson, Hiroshi Yamauchi. Under Hiroshi Yamauchi, Nintendo would undergo an era of change as he realized that the playing card business really only had limited room for growth. As such, he decided to look into other products to possibly expand Nintendo's market. In 1963, Yamauchi renamed the Nintendo Playing Card Company Ltd. To simply the Nintendo Company Ltd. The company began experimenting in various other businesses between 1963 and 1968. These ventures included, but were not limited to, a taxi service, a chain of love hotels, a TV network, and a fast food company selling instant rice. Every single one of these ventures met with failure. Then, after the 1964 Olympics, Japanese interest in playing cards dropped, and Nintendo's stock plummeted. Eventually, in 1966, Nintendo moved from being a playing card company to being a toy company in order to sell the Ultra Hand, which was a device created by a man named Gunpei Yokoi in his free time. From here, Nintendo went on to produce several other popular toys, including the Ultra Machine and Love Testers. But despite these successes, Nintendo was still having a hard time catching up to other already established toy companies. Something had to give, and it finally did in 1974 when Nintendo gained the rights to distribute the Magnavox Odyssey in Japan. In 1977, it began producing its own hardware, beginning with the Color TV Game 6, which had 6 variations of light tennis, also known as Pong. The Color TV Game 6 had 4 successors, which included 15 variations of light tennis, a racing game, Nintendo's version of Atari's Breakout, and a port of Nintendo's computer Othello. In 1979, Gunpei Yokoi came up with an idea for a handheld video game after he saw a commuter on a bullet train idly messing with a calculator out of pure boredom. Yokoi went on to turn that inspiration into the Game & Watch line of handheld LCD video games, which launched in 1980. Then in 1981, something happened that secured Nintendo's future for decades to come. A young production student who had been hired on to design casings for the Color TV game series of consoles was approached by Hiroshi Yamauchi to convert unsold copies of the arcade game Radarscope into something new. Nintendo gave this developer a budget of $100,000 to create the new game. The developer's name was Shigeru Miyamoto, and the game was Donkey Kong, and the rest is history. But what has always stood out to me is the character of Gygus, or Gigu in the original translation. Now, to truly appreciate Gygus, you need a little